The night air outside the small diner was crisp, brushing softly against the glass windows fogged by the warmth inside. It was nearly closing time when Emily, a young waitress in her late 20s, refilled the coffee pot for the last time. The bell above the door jingled, and she instinctively turned away, tugging the brim of her cap lower to hide her face. Ever since the accident 8 months ago, a car crash that left a long scar tracing down the right side of her cheek, Emily had learned to avoid eye contact, mirrors, and strangers' glances. She wasn't the same girl who once loved to laugh behind the counter. She now worked quietly, moving through each shift as though she were invisible. That night, a man walked in, a new customer she hadn't seen before. He looked tired but kind, the sort of man who smiled with his eyes more than his mouth. His name was Daniel. He had just moved to town after losing his wife 2 years earlier. Life had carved sadness into his face too, though in a gentler way. When Emily brought him his coffee, she kept her head down, hoping he wouldn't notice the scars peeking beneath her hairline. "Thank you," he said softly. His voice carried warmth, no pity, no surprise, just gratitude. It startled her. People usually paused, stared, or fumbled their words when they saw her face. But Daniel didn't. He just took a sip of his coffee and smiled, like she was anyone else. Over the next few weeks, Daniel started coming in every evening, sitting at the same booth near the window. He always ordered the same thing, coffee and a slice of cherry pie. And somehow, without meaning to, Emily began to look forward to those moments. He never asked personal questions, never pushed her to talk. Sometimes they'd chat about little things, the weather, the music playing on the radio, or the stray cat that liked to sit outside the diner. Other times, they just shared a quiet comfort in silence. One night, during a snowstorm, Daniel noticed Emily drop a plate. The crash echoed through the near-empty diner. She froze, her breath catching in panic as she crouched to pick up the pieces. Her trembling fingers cut against the glass, and blood welled up instantly. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. She tried to hide her face as tears started forming. I should have been more careful." Without hesitation, Daniel knelt beside her and gently took the shards from her hands. "Hey, it's just a plate," he said softly. "No one's hurt, right?" But she couldn't stop crying. "You don't understand," she said, her voice trembling. "Everyone looks at me like I'm broken. Like I'm something to pity. I can't stand it anymore." Daniel stayed quiet for a moment, looking at her with an expression that wasn't pity, it was pain, but shared pain. "Emily," he said gently, "I lost someone I loved in a fire." I watched her smile fade in hospital lights. "Scars don't make you broken, they mean you survived something that could have ended you." Emily blinked, his words catching her off guard. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small paper crane. "My wife used to make these," he said. "She said that beauty isn't about how the world sees you, it's about what you carry inside when the world stops looking." He placed the paper crane in her palm. "You still carry light, Emily. You just forgot how bright it is." For the first time in months, Emily lifted her gaze. Daniel was looking right at her, not avoiding her scars, not pretending they weren't there, but seeing all of her. And in that gaze, something inside her began to heal. After that night, Emily started to change. Slowly, she began wearing her hair up again. She stopped hiding behind her cap. She smiled more, laughed with the regular customers, and even painted her nails a soft pink. Each small act felt like a rebellion against the fear that had caged her for too long. One Sunday morning, the diner hosted a small charity breakfast. Emily volunteered to greet the guests. She was nervous. Her hands trembled as she adjusted her apron, but when Daniel walked in, she felt steadier. "You look beautiful today," he said sincerely, and for once, she didn't look away. "Thank you," she replied quietly, but her voice didn't shake. Weeks turned into months, and their friendship deepened into something neither had expected. They spent evenings walking along the frozen lake, sharing stories of the lives they had lost and the people they were becoming. Daniel never told her she was beautiful to make her feel better, he said it because he meant it, and because she had learned to see it too. One evening, as spring painted color back into the world, Emily closed the diner early. She stood outside under the soft pink sky, the paper crane still folded neatly in her coat pocket. Daniel arrived, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to her, smiling in that familiar, quiet way. "I think you saved me," she said softly. He shook his head. "No," he replied. "You just needed someone to remind you how strong you already were." The breeze lifted strands of her hair, brushing against the scar she no longer hid. For the first time, she didn't flinch. She let the world see her. Because beauty, she realized, wasn't about perfection, it was about courage. The courage to show your scars and still smile. The courage to love again, after loss. And as the sun dipped behind the horizon, Emily finally felt something she hadn't in a long, long time: free. That night, as the diner lights flickered off and the town fell quiet, she whispered to herself, "He didn't just make me feel beautiful again, he reminded me I already was."